Loftwings, the guardian birds that the goddess bestowed upon each of us as a symbol of her divine protection. This is a quote from the leader of the Skyloft Knight Academy, Gaepora. Only those who show enough courage and talent are able to attend the academy, such as our hero Link. The anticipated wing ceremony had finally arrived, and none other than Link lay in his bed asleep, the only trace of sunlight peeking through the small gap in his window. This sunlight would soon fade as a loud bang wakes our hero up to see a Loftwing saving him from missing and failing his final exam. As he swiftly gets ready and departs, every step and stride to his destination was matched by a glide or flutter from Zelda's Loftwing. Barely arriving on time, Link soared off the island, much in the fashion of his bird that he whistled, and after his fairy companion arrived, together they won the wing ceremony. They say there is no bond like that between a knight and his Loftwing. If this is true, where did they disappear to? Did they evolve into a monstrous species seen in Twilight Princess, or did they have a more dignified future as a species in Breath of the Wild? Loftwings are introduced as special creatures that aid our hero Link in his quest during Skyward Sword. On his journey to defeat Girahim and Demise, his trusty companion accompanies him to each and every location, securing his safety and arrival. They are viewed as protectors of the sky, even able to defeat large corrupted leviathans, and described as divine creatures sent by the goddess. So it's odd that the only Zelda title they ever appeared in was Skyward Sword. At the end of the game, we see them fly off into the sunset, being the last we ever hear of the Loftwings, and many would accept that they simply disappeared following this. It would be hard not to accept this as a fact, considering the various games that are set in the sky, such as Minish Cap and Tears of the Kingdom, that don't contain the Loftwings at all, not even a trace. But to me, a divine protector sent by Hylia herself would not simply disappear, especially when Hyrule faces so much evil and trouble. I believe something else happened above Hyrule's veil that many would never see, an evolution for the Loftwings that was a far cry from their divine origins. Flash forward to Twilight Princess, and we see an abandoned city in the sky. Derelict and destroyed, there are no signs of life, none except for these creatures. They're called the Uka and resemble a feathered bird with humanoid features. Many theorise that following the events of Skyward Sword, the Loftwings were no longer nourished and fed by their masters and instead had to learn to fend for themselves. Over time, as Skyloft wasn't needed due to Hyrule being established, neither were the Loftwings, and they began to settle down in the remnants of Skyloft and evolved to fit their needs. Their intelligence gradually increased as they had learned how to fend for themselves, and not needing wings to carry the weight of Hylians or large beaks to protect them, they lost these features and became more akin to humanoid creatures. What other evidence is there to support this, besides mindless theorising? Well, in Twilight Princess, it's stated that the Uka helped to found Hyrule. Could it be the way they helped to found it was by carrying the Hylians down and the resources down whilst they were Loftwings? The city in the sky is the remnants of Skyloft, and the Uka are what used to be Loftwings. This is one theory, but there is another. In Wind Waker, it's established that the Rito evolved from Zora, who went extinct to survive the new harsh ocean that was bestowed upon Hyrule. But as tens of thousands of years pass, Hyrule faces many climate and environmental changes, leading us to the world of Breath of the Wild. In this game, both the Zora and Rito occupy Hyrule, and the Rito have a vastly different appearance from their look in Wind Waker. So how could this happen? Many theorise that the Rito in Breath of the Wild evolved from the Loftwings who didn't want to leave their masters down in Hyrule, but they still had no use. As time passed, they became more intelligent and independent, becoming humanoid and eventually bipedal, but never losing their ability of flight. Further evidence to support this is how the typical Rito symbol seen in Wind Waker, which supports the goddess Din, is replaced by a new symbol in Breath of the Wild, which is unseen in the series. Furthermore, the Rito in Wind Waker are only able to fly due to their deity Valu, who bestowed them with the ability of flight, whereas the Breath of the Wild Rito can naturally fly and don't have a deity they worship. Could it be that Loftwings became the monstrous Uka in Twilight Princess, or did they have a more divine future representative of their origin, seen through Breath of the Wild? There is, however, one last theory, and this one may be the most plausible of them all. During Breath of the Wild, as you journey through the game and open up new parts of the world, you'll eventually stumble across one of these 3 dragons. After either saving the Lanayru dragon, farming them for materials, you will inevitably see them journey into the clouds. What's strange is we can notice as they enter the clouds, a portal appears and they disappear from sight after this. This is known as the Sky Veil, and what separates Hyrule from whatever inhabits the sky. It can be seen in Skyward Sword as you journey down to the Faron region, is how Link arrives there. It could be the Loftwings simply fly around in this area, but we never get to see them living their best life free from harm and conflict. It could be that the Loftwings never left us, but we left them. There is of course the possibility that they eventually went extinct. Who knows which outcome is true? And everyone has their own headcanons about the real truth. But I find it extremely odd that after Skyward Sword, feathered hats became a fashion trend. Actually, I don't want to imagine that possibility. We've seen countless races and species evolve throughout the series. The Zora in Wind Waker became the Rito to deal with the drastic climate changes. These seahorse creatures in Skyward Sword most likely evolved into Zora, once settling into Hyrule, as there was much more land now. And there's also the Koroks, who changed from these extremely humanoid Kakiris in Ocarina of Time to the weird tree leaf hybrids we see in most other Zelda games. I've got to say, they are extremely cute though. My point being, it's not totally out of the question that the Loftwings could have evolved into the Uka from Twilight Princess. After all, the city in the sky does bear some resemblance to Skyloft, and the Uka themselves are extremely intelligent and give off a divine presence. Except for these faces only a mother could love. And as far as evolving into the Rito from Breath of the Wild, I believe this could also be a possibility too, as comparing these Rito to Wind Wakers, they are so drastically different. And given the fact that Zora also inhabit Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, it's a very likely possibility these could have been Loftwings, desperate to stay with their masters. And finally, the option I think is most likely to be true, is that the Loftwings are happily flying above the Sky Veil, waiting for their next Link to journey with, although this could just be me being hopeful that they aren't extinct. But yet again, there are two final species the Loftwings could have transformed into. During Wind Waker, you encounter many flying creatures such as the Helmarok King who steals Link's sister, the bat monsters Keese, but most notably and interestingly for this topic, the Kargarok. The resemblance to the Loftwings is uncanny, there's no denying that, but why would they change into this species? If you remember earlier, I mentioned that Wind Waker takes place in a world where Hyrule was flooded. That means that the Great Sea sits miles above Hyrule, and more importantly, where Skyloft used to be. This makes it likely that the Loftwings had to adapt and evolve to fit in with the new environment, turning from allies to foes who were scavenging for food along with resources. We can also see these creatures in Twilight Princess inhabiting the Twilight Realm. Everything that steps into the Twilight Realm emerges as a shadow of its former self, and upon a closer inspection, it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that these creatures were Loftwings who somehow found their way into the Twilight Realm and were ultimately corrupted by the area. This theory does clash with the Uka one, as if some were on the surface and still maintained their Loftwing appearance, why would others be in the sky looking completely different? However, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker take place on different timelines, so I can believe the idea that these creatures inhabiting the Great Sea used to be Loftwings. Which theory do you think is true? That the Loftwings evolved into any of the aforementioned creatures, or that they are simply above the Sky Veil flying around? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more Zelda content in the future, let me know what about. Please leave a like and subscribe to not miss any future uploads, and you can watch more of my content on screen. But for now, goodbye.